There's times where we show up to a place where we're filming, commercial, movie, etc., and we have no idea what someone's gonna be wearing on screen. This is our talent, and our talent is wearing a blue hoodie. What is that?
Shirt dress.
Shirt dress. So we can't actually use tapes or anything on skin because there's sensitivity to adhesives on skin. So what we're gonna use is every single option is not going to touch skin. So what we're gonna use here for the first option is something called an Ursa Foamie, which they come in different sizes, different packs. This is a regular size Foamie, but there's also the Foamie Mini. The Foamie Mini is just a slightly smaller diameter for the microphone, and they come in beige, white, and black. This is a beige one. It's kind of like a makeup sponge in material, but it's very soft and it's very, it's silent. It doesn't make any noise if like your clothing goes across it. So what the idea with this is the microphone is going to go into like the hole through the middle. You just kind of push it straight through, and depending on how much wind protection you want, you can either poke the capsule out the end, or you can kind of cinch it back in a little bit, kind of like a turtle going into its shell. And then they actually give you a bunch of small safety pins, which you can then use to go through the Foamie and then into fabric. So the idea is that when that pin is going through there, if they're moving around a lot, the Foamie actually moves mechanically with their material of their shirts, jackets, whatever they have on, instead of having to silence the rubbing on top of it. So it's very quiet, but it's also moving along with the mechanical energy. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by putting the mic on you, and then we're gonna worry about hiding the transmitter later on. And I'm gonna ask you, can you pass this up the bottom of your shirt and pull it out the top collar for me? Now, the ideal placement is usually right around the middle front part of the chest, because that's where you get like a nice resonance of the voice. It's very rich, it's very deep. If you put your hand on your chest and you speak, you actually can feel your hand rumbling a little bit, so you get that nice low frequency energy. I'm gonna stab the Foamie with the safety pin, and then I'm going to, actually if you wanna let your shirt go for a second, I'm just gonna see how it rests. So we can actually see there's like a bunch of cloth right here, which is both good and bad. It's good because we can hide a mic there, but it's bad because it's actually thicker material, and thicker material, if you hold a blanket in front of your face and start talking, you know that your voice gets duller and duller the more layers of cloth are in between you and the person you're talking to. So if we can spot a clear line of sight between the actor's mouth and where the mic is going to be sitting, where there's a bit of air around it, that's usually a good spot. I'm going to go on her left side, right by the stitching. That's where I'm going to stab the Foamie safety pin through, and it's going to hang out right in that area. So let's do that. I'm just going to poke this right through near the base. Yeah, this is the part where you want to be very careful. You always want to tell the talent what you're doing and what's going on so that they have an idea, because they can't see anything and they're just trusting that you know what's going on. So I fold that forward. You can see this mic is just hanging out in the foam. The pin is stuck through the cloth material. So if you yank on the microphone, it actually won't damage the cable. It'll just pop right out of the Foamie because it's only being held in there with friction. So that's one nice thing about it. It's very simple. It doesn't damage material as long as you can poke a hole through it with any kind of safety pin, which is convenient, and wardrobe always likes that. So now we need to hide this transmitter somewhere. Can you tell me what you're gonna be doing in this scene? You can make it up if you can't think of anything, or I can
flying.
maybe...
No, I'm kidding. I'm gonna be riding a bicycle.
You're riding a bicycle, okay. So if you're riding a bicycle, you may be leaning a little bit forward. There's probably gonna be a back shot. And so if you put this transmitter on your back, we're actually gonna see the little bump. So the ideal place would then either be kind of around here or one side or the other. The band that we're gonna actually use to hold the transmitter, this is a bit of the older style from Ursa. It actually makes the transmitter sit vertically. So when you place it inside, the antennas poke upright. So in this situation, you wouldn't want to have it right here. You'd actually be okay with it on the side because it's kind of going along with the body. We try not to actually have antennas in contact directly with skin, because as soon as an antenna touches water, which a lot of our skin is made of, you lose quite a lot of range. But what do you have underneath the blue hoodie shirt?
Oh, white tank top.
White tank top, okay. Do you have a preference of left or right side?
No.
Okay, well, I'm gonna pick the right side because that's closer to me. Okay, so you're gonna hold your shirt up for a quick second, and I'm gonna place this kind of right here, and then if you wanna catch that band around your left side and pass it around to me in the front, make sure the cable's going on top, and I'm gonna ask how tense is okay for you. So this is kind of a stretchy band. Is that okay for tension?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm gonna stick it down to itself, and to leave a little bit of slack in the cable here, I'm just gonna tuck it into the front of the band like that, so it's not enough cable. It's gonna like kind of push out and see like a little shape in the front. Then I'll just wrap up the excess cable and I'll tuck it into the band so it's not in the way and it doesn't catch on their arm. And I usually will talk them through that that's what I'm doing so that they know what's all going on. You can put it back down. So if you move around like normal, is there anything pulling, catching, or uncomfortable?
Nope.
Okay. Why don't you improvise 10 seconds worth of dialogue while you're mind cycling?
Check one, mic check 1, 2, 3. Stupid. Stay on track.
There's a tool that Ursa makes called a chest strap, and it's a...
Don't laugh, you gotta do it. Like you go.
So the Ursa chest strap, it has a few different pouches kind of in the front part of it. They're different thicknesses for different mics or different mounts. But it's effectively a semi-stretchy kind of a band. They come in 3 different colors, black, beige, and brown. And they just Velcro to themselves, and it kind of becomes this little band. And there's like an anti-slip kind of a material on the inside. So if someone's doing a lot of sports activity, it won't slide down their chest as they're running around a track and field or cycling or doing gymnastics. So the way that we're gonna pre-rig this, and I'm using a white mic on a black band for ease of visibility. But ideally, I'll actually match the band to be the color of the shirt that's on top, because if they have a white shirt and you have a black band, it's gonna become visible, then someone's gonna yell and scream at you. So there's these little loops on the inside. I'm gonna just thread a mic through one of these to kind of keep it from wandering. And then I like to do a little loop through all 3, or through 3 of the pockets. So I go up, and then I go back down, and then I go back up again. So I'm doing a U-turn in the cable because if you make any kind of like rubbing noise on the cable further down, it actually transmits up the cable, but the U-turns actually cancel a lot of that rubbing handling noise. So I'll make these little S-curve things, and it's also a bit of like a strain relief. You can see like if I pull on the cable, it's actually not yanking the mic. It kind of gets restricted from moving through the little U-turns. So it has a couple different purposes. So the ideal place for this is gonna be right about here on the sternum. And usually I'll go kind of like in the little divot right here, which is pretty much in everyone's body. I'll put it right underneath like the little bra clip there, and then we'll just create a band around them and Velcro to themselves, and that's how we do that. Yeah, we'll just lift the blue shirt up a bit, and we'll keep the white shirt down on underneath. Perfect, so we're gonna go kind of right in this area here. So you can kind of see there's that little air gap, so I'm gonna have them place their hands on either side of the band. Just kind of hold it there for me. There we go, and then while that's there, I'm gonna move around, and I'll pull the band to a nice comfortable tension. Is that okay for tension? Mm-hmm. Okay.
You might want to go a little tighter.
A little tighter?
Yeah.
Okay, so for right here, this tends to be a bit more of like an active area, so they're okay with a bit more tension there. Yeah, so now that's on, and then the next thing to do is to hide the transmitter somehow. Now, we can actually use a regular pouch to add on to the existing band, but we don't want to put too much weight on one single band because then it starts to make the mic move and fall downwards even with the anti-slip. So we're going to use another band, and this is the new Ursa sideways waistband. And it's the same as the old style, except the mic pouch is actually on the outside. And what that does is it creates a very small barrier between the antenna and skin, if it's directly on top of skin, which separates it from the water contact of touching human bodies, which is good for reception range. So now this can either go on a side, in the front, or on the back, wherever it's comfortable. So what are you doing in this scene?
Eating pizza.
She's eating pizza. So I'm gonna put it against her lower back. So if you actually wanna turn to face that way a bit and lift up the back of your blue hoodie shirt. Okay, and then we're just gonna place this right here, kind of in the small of the back. If you wanna catch that band and pass that around to me. There we go, and spin towards me a little bit. And then we're just gonna put this over top here, spin towards me more. And that's just gonna go onto itself. Is that okay for tension there?
Yep.
Okay, you can face forward again. And just, last thing we have to do, before you push that down,
Sure.
is to tidy up all this excess cable, and I'll just wrap that around my fingers and tuck it into the band. Kind of like that. Now, if that creates any kind of like a mark on the skin from like the loops of bands, you can always tuck that into the different pouches on the waistband themselves, or whatever's more comfortable for them, really.
Manja.
So let's hear what this sounds.
Hot dogs, pizza, fries, funnel cake, Deep fried Mars bars. Pickles. Jalapeno poppers.
For the bra clip and vampire clip, we're first going to, thank you. Thank you for the demonstration. We're first gonna actually put the mic in, or we're gonna put the transmitter in the strap first, and I'm gonna put that in place, and then we'll mess around with the mic mount next. So we're gonna put this on your back, and it's gonna have to go a little bit higher up. So you wanna lift the back of your shirt a bit, and then I'm gonna once again ask you to pass that around to me, and then spin towards me a little bit. There you go. And I'm just gonna pass this around again. There we go, it's gonna Velcro onto itself. Now, we are seeing that a little bit. We're gonna fix that later on. So then spin to face this way again. Okay, so this is a very common mic mounting tool. It's called a vampire clip, and it effectively has two teeth that are essentially like safety pin points, really. And all you do is you kind of run it along the cloth and you stab it into the fabric, and then this tube will actually hold the microphone in place wherever it's gonna go. So we're gonna put it right about in this area again, and it's gonna stick right onto the bra material. So where did the mic fall? Here it is. I'm just gonna push it into the bottom of the tube, and it just holds in place with friction. And if you just lift the front of your shirt a little bit, this is gonna go right into the thicker part of the material, so there's no risk of poking skin, just like that. And then for excess cable, we would just tuck it into the band, just like that. And then afterwards, we just kind of tidy up, hide a little bit of material, so it just kind of rotate around. I'm just gonna lift this up a bit higher. And some of these bands will have better friction to kind of hold them in place more so than others. If you turn more again, there we go. Okay, and then we can just drop the shirt back down, and it's kind of hidden more or less. I might use a different kind of a band to hold it in place if you were gonna be doing a lot of activity. But if your arms are down for a scene, like say you're sitting at a table, this will work just fine.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Here's the duck. We'll do the duck test.
The duck had to make it in somehow.
Quack.
A different tool that you might want to use instead of stabbing fabric material, maybe it's sensitive, maybe it can't have any kind of a puncture in it. There's another tool, and this is made by Hide-A-Mic. This is a bra clip. They make t-shirt clips, they make tie clips, they make all kinds. But for demonstrative purposes here and now, I'm going to take the mic off of the bra using the vampire clips. Now that's gonna go away. And I'm gonna replace it with almost the exact same kind of a friction fit. And this is a bra clip that just has a loop that kind of sits right there. And I like to have it so that the large part is facing away from the towel, because you get a bit more airspace that way. And then the cable length, I just kind of tuck it into the band or to the rest of the bra clip so that it's not going to get pulled or tugged and there's a bit of a strain relief. So if we want to talk again.
Talking. Do I need to move? Yeah, I know it's hot. Do I need to move while I talk or no?
I mean, you can if you like.
Well, we're doing it. I think that's all.
So I always ask what the talent is going to be doing, because what did you just say? If you sit down, it's against your lower back in the chair.
Yeah, it feels a little funny.
So that's the reason why I would ask where they're going to be, or what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be sitting, standing, moving, etc. Because that actually does dictate not just where the bump of the transmitter might be seen, but also the comfort of the actor. This is a tool that Ursa released not too long ago. It is called the X-Strap. Effectively what it is it's got a larger pocket that goes against the part of your back between your shoulder blades. And then it's got shoulder straps to kind of hold it from falling down. There's side straps to hold it against your sternum. There's a front pouch here that will hold the microphones into these little pouches, just like the chest strap does. I appreciate the sign language. So what you do in this situation is you actually preset everything before you even give it to the talent.
I should just like walk by slowly.
On the X-Strap here, there's actually a couple of pouches in the back, so I like to stick the antenna or the aerial from the transmitter going out one direction, so then you don't have that little part sticking up in the back of their neck. So it just goes off to one side, and then I'll send the microphone cable out the other side. Then on the bits that go around the chest, I will send the cable of the mic through these little pouches, kind of like little guidelines or guy lines if you're into camping, kind of through there. And then this is the thing I was talking about earlier with going through the little U-turns, and this just removes the handling noise from the cable further down. So I'll go U-turn, U-turn, and then U-turn, and there's already a bunch of different pick points, so it's probably not going to have any kind of attention on it. But because this is usually in a situation where the talent wearing it is doing a lot of physical activity, there's a lot more risk for them moving their arm across the cable further over, and that little U-turn pattern just helps to remove any of the handling noise earlier on. So you can see there's quite a bit of cable left over. So what I'll do then is after I've kind of put it through, I'll just pull back the excess back into the pouch, just kind of tuck it away like that. And then at this point, I could just leave it in the locker room or in the change room or the green room or wherever it is that the talent is and just say, please just wear this underneath your clothes. So if you want to throw this on.
It's sitting up here.
It's up here.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, can you gesture where it is again?
Right here.
Okay, so why don't you do a little bit of like shoulder movements and just give us a few lines. You can kind of walk around in the spot. Why don't you tell me about what you saw yesterday outside?
Trees and the sun shining, clouds, there was a squirrel.
For an exaggerated test.
Squirrel! Okay, sorry, go.
Got Tourette's all of a sudden?
Yep.
Can you, right there, do some jumping jacks and count backwards to 10?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, cool. There's a bunch of different things that you should take into consideration when you are thinking about what kind of a mic mount, what kind of a transmitter, holder, pouch, etc. you're going to use, but it comes down to what is the action, what are the talent wearing for like a wardrobe outfit, and what is their general level of comfort. So if you have things like you can't use adhesive straight onto skin, that could impact your decisions as to how the mic is mounted. If you have a lot of physical activity, that can change where the transmitter goes. And if they're getting in and out of vehicles, that can also change where you run the cables because it might pull, tug, catch, etc. Asking those questions ahead of time will kind of just give you all the answers for what to then go and prepare and then bring to wherever your talent is and mic them up.